What's up, everybody? Welcome to the View from Jamestown podcast edition. This is episode 69. This is the March 2022 episode, and we got the full crew here this morning. We got TCC President Robb Roach, Inside Sales Manager Nicole Greenberg, VP of Sales and Marketing AJ Petrarca, and Latin American Operations Manager Javier Fernandez.
Good morning.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How you guys all doing?
Excellent.
Fantastic.
Got a lot of diverse facial hair going on here as I'm looking around. Got obviously AJ's beard. Robb's got the stash going on.
I mean, I hope I'm kind of out of that.
Nicole doesn't count. What's,
subtle hints. No.
What's happening?
I've had this stash for 2 years, but I've had the mask on, so you haven't
Maybe
seen
that's what it was.
Yeah.
That's
I've been
what it
working
was.
on it all that time.
It's like an outline of a mask.
That's right.
Just grew in the mask.
I'm missing the mask so much. I had to put this facial hair on.
You gotta do like shell and grow it over your lips to
Yeah,
protect
so I
yourself.
keep tasting the coffee all day long.
George, can we get a close up on that stash over there? But yeah, it is mid-March. We're coming out of some travel. We're looking forward to getting into some more travel here end of this month and next month. It feels good to be back on the road, and we got a bunch of trips coming up, and it's nice to see the American Airlines app filling up again.
Travel explosion. Yeah.
It's nice to see.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
But first and foremost, I know the biggest thing we've been talking about here the past 2 weeks, I know the February episode, we knew or were talking about the potential for a Russian invasion of Ukraine. Obviously, anyone that's opened their phone or turned the TV on the last couple weeks has seen that obviously has happened. And we're working through the fallout from that, primarily including a whole bunch of Russian sanctions following what's happening with oil. Obviously, oil is up about 20% since the last time we recorded. Some producers are cutting ties with either material that had originated from Russia or had been produced in Russia, or even logistics going in and around Russia. So it's been quite the fluid situation, and we're obviously still trying to maintain the fallout. I know you said obviously AFPM's coming up, and it should be a very interesting AFPM as everyone tries to figure out what's going on and what the outlook is on the Russian sanctions and what's happening there.
Yeah, it looks like a pretty bad call by Putin, at this point, because he's got very few people backing him, and saw this morning that he's got 16,000, I think they call them jihad type fighters now that are going to help Russia. Our little company's already impacted by it. We were doing some business in Russia, and I think that there's going to be. I had a call yesterday with the whole company. This is going to be the equivalent of Winter Storm Uri, on Texas, or worse, depending on how long it lasts.
It's amazing all the different avenues of trickle down, and obviously anyone that's producing in Russia is now being impacted.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, a significant amount of oil in Europe comes out of Russia, so anyone that's producing anywhere in Europe is now affected by this. It's been amazing, the trickle down effect of how that's impacted the world economy. Some of our producers, I know a couple this week, have announced that they're going to stop, sourcing from Russia, so that cuts off a percentage of supply options. Obviously, something they put into place for security supply that's no longer there. So it's been interesting.
Yeah, it's tough to keep up on. It seems like it's changing hourly at this point, so everything could be different by the time this podcast actually airs, obviously. But it's something we're paying real close attention to. Obviously, gas prices at all-time high, which is not great for anybody.
Yeah, thanks, Biden. No. It's that's the biggest topic right now at TCC, because week over week we went from 20%-ish fuel surcharges to 48, 47%-ish fuel surcharges. And as a distributor where you're making a small fraction of a percent on anything that you sell, that's a tremendous change and eliminates any profitability in a lot of cases. So we're trying to tackle that issue right now through communicating directly with our customers and figuring out, what exactly we do, because freight for us is a service. It's not a profit center. So, we just pass on the costs. And so we're going to have to do that. And the inflationary situation's gotten compounded now with the cost of fuel adding to those woes. And the lack of availability in certain markets of chemical products. That means there's going to be, once again, a reshuffling of the global markets, which we've already seen, thanks to COVID and thanks to now this war. And, several times over the last couple of years, the global economies have had to reshuffle. And it's that has an impact on costs as well.
Yeah, obviously impacting it twofold. Obviously, the freight is a big part of it. You need to get raw materials to a plant. You need to get the finished goods to our customers. But obviously, oil will make the products themselves more expensive. Obviously, a lot of things, especially that we sell, are derived directly from oil or natural gas or benzene or propylene. So it can be directly tied back to increases in oil. So it seems like it's very obvious that pricing will continue increasing throughout the summertime based on all this.
Yeah, I also mentioned recently that we've just seen an onslaught of orders. Everybody's understanding the predicament, and they need to have. I mean, you think about it. Well, there's low inventory on availability. There's low inventory on finished goods. There's low inventory in transit. There's just low inventory across the board. So that hasn't even had a chance to recover post-COVID, and now here we are, with a greater impact. So it's going to be an interesting AFPM in a couple of weeks, and it's going to be an interesting, remainder of the first quarter and second quarter, I think, for sure.
Yeah, and I'm sure, Nicole, you've been quite popular here recently. I know one thing we've done more and more of is looking at packaged product, whether it's just to have emergency stock at our warehouses or to ship to our customer and have it on their floor, or maybe trucks getting delayed. So I'm sure the packaged plasticizer business and product packaged product as a whole has been quite busy here the last couple of weeks for you.
Yeah, the last couple of weeks have just they've blown up. And whether it's been due to lack of liquid bulk availability and being able to schedule trucks there, people are looking at their LTL options, which are more favorable in a lot of situations. But also, I think a lot of people are looking to get some safety stock on the floor and make sure that they avoid, a potential plant shutdown.
Yeah, maybe trying to get some material packed out to beat some of these impending increases that I think people are sure that are coming.
Yeah, definitely.
Good time to have your, tanks full and have some safety stock on the floor, whether it's just due to availability in general or prices going up. But I think that's kind of been our
we're going
feedback.
into probably the most busy time of the year as well. The March, April, May, June timeframe is typically the most robust in terms of demand. So you're adding a little insult to injury here.
Yeah. And Javi, you mentioned that we're obviously in turnaround season for a lot of companies, a lot of plants.
Yeah, a lot of plants in Latin America are turnaround season. And Latin America has become a good spot for supply in some products. So we have good relationships there. So we're in a good position. But yeah, things are going well.
Demand's still good.
Demand's still strong, and yeah, everybody's keeping safety stock and planning their orders May, June at this point.
Yeah, I guess that's the Latin American countries are probably at a benefit because they're used to the lead times, they're used to the supply chains.
Yeah,
versus
they used to the imports, so they're okay with the delays and the rollovers. They don't take the bad news very well, but they're fine with it because they're planning better for sure.
Versus maybe a lot of companies in the U.S. that what do you mean it's 2 weeks to get through the port? Like they're not used to these dynamics that go on with that.
It seems like some folks in Latin America are having like an unforeseen uptick in demand. Like we're seeing more requests for air freight and things like that, and panic buying type things.
Yeah, it has increased. We have done a lot of orders air freight just due to the lack of shipments, or just due to timing. We have to put some pallets in order to the company not to shut down. But yeah.
Yeah, I know. Looking at logistics, have you looked at China shipments at all recently? Have rates been pretty flat and availability been okay, or has it been impacted a bit more?
Availability seems to be okay. What rates are like? 15,000 for regular 20-foot containers. So it's pretty flat, I think, from last time. And availability seems okay. There's still some raw material issues in China, especially with things like bromine or phosphates and things that are mined seem pretty problematic. Still antimony. I think antimony's pretty snug at the moment, but ocean freight seems like it's okay at the moment.
Yeah. And Javier, you were talking earlier, obviously ocean freight in and around Europe can be a little interesting. I know Russia, shipments coming in and out of Russia, maybe even if they're not originating from Russia, but just passing through Russia
passing through Russia, they're having an issue because there are no their shipping lines are not picking up Russian cargoes at the moment. Many of them they're not picking up, so they're either skipping St. Petersburg port or they're just stopping and not picking up anything. So that's become a problematic for many of us that deal with some Russian goods.
So maybe something that could impact you even if you're not buying Russian material, but if your ship is supposed to stop in Russia and keep going, it could be a potential problem.
Yes, for sure.
Already is.
Yeah.
So good time to stay in touch with your freight folks, especially if you're buying stuff coming in from Asia and Europe.
Yeah.
Make sure you know where that vessel's going through and if you could expect any delays.
Hopefully it'll free up containers for other ports from Europe. I don't know if that'll help the situation at all, but if there's any silver lining, maybe.
Optimism. I like it.
Trying.
We need more optimism. So obviously, China, global shipping. We touched on Mexico and Latin America. Things have been good. How's the feedback been for the AFPM? It seems like you've got a busy meeting schedule. People from out of the U.S. traveling.
A lot of people are coming to they were here in October, but they're coming to the March.
Yep.
I'll be seeing a lot of my friends in a couple of weeks, so that's exciting. So it's looking like a full schedule, so I'm very excited. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I got to figure out how to match you with like 7 golfers at the same time. I think you're the most popular guy at the golf outing, which is a good problem to have.
Yeah, I guess.
So I know we touched on it a bit here. Obviously, we're lucky to have a freight update coming up from the logistics company. So we'll turn it over to those guys for a more in-depth freight update on what they're seeing on various freight avenues these days. So we'll give it over to them. Morning, guys. How you guys doing today?
Morning, Ben.
Morning, Ben. Nice to see you both on the podcast for the first time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Duo from TLC. Appreciate you guys coming on, spending some time with us this morning. For anyone that hasn't seen a prior episode, maybe you just want to give a brief introduction on each of you, your background and roles with TLC.
Yeah, so I'm Jamie Mild. I've been working with TLC for about 4 years now, working on pricing and rail operations, packaging operations, blending, all kinds of things like that.
A little bit of everything.
Yep.
Jack of all trades.
Joe?
I'm Joe Hasenfratz, sales and marketing manager at the logistics company. Mainly head up bringing on a lot of new business and carriers as well. So busy.
I can imagine. I'm sure you guys are both very popular these days.
Yep. For good and
Jumping right into it, I know one of the things we've been talking a lot about really the last week to 2 weeks as gas prices have obviously skyrocketed. Obviously, a big part of truck freight is the FSC or fuel surcharge. I guess question for you, Jamie, is what's been happening the last 2 weeks, maybe even backing it up just a brief second and explaining what the fuel surcharges are and how they impact rates, as well as what's going on here currently.
Yeah, so the fuel surcharge is something that is added to a per mile line haul that is basically the compensator for the fuel that's used by the truck on your shipment. Fuel surcharges historically, I think back when I was starting out a few years ago, they were 17%, 20%, something like that. Now they've been skyrocketing the last 6 months, and especially the last week or so here. About a week ago it was 36% or so, and this week it's up to 45, 46, 47.
Crazy
for this week. And that's that's just a percentage that gets put on top of that mileage that you're already paying for.
So if a line haul is $1,000 and the fuel surcharge is currently 40%, you're really paying $1,400.
Exactly.
That's how that works.
Yep.
Crazy. That's quite the increase, and obviously something on you guys are kind of scrambling, and a lot of people are scrambling to figure out how to tackle that. Obviously, if you guys are giving rates on whether it's a daily, a weekly, or a monthly validity, some of that I'm sure has to be revisited kind of ASAP, because obviously that's something that's growing real quickly here.
Yeah, I think especially we've made a lot of our accounts and any one of our forecasts aware. We're in the same boat as so many other teams are. So
yeah. I
don't think this is anything that's kind of surprising to a lot of any of our customers, or because that's what's being communicated by the carrier. So I think the TLC team does a great job of being as proactive in getting those out so that we can pivot as needed. But yeah, that's something that's across the board. Everyone's experiencing it right now.
Yeah, I'm sure that the focus really is still on what you guys have been doing with developing new carriers and relationships. Obviously, everyone's dealing with the same fuel surcharges. Where does that come from? Where does a fuel surcharge come from? Is it something published by like a union or organization? Or
so the fuel surcharge is based off of government data over the national average for diesel prices. In trucks, specifically in liquid bulk, basically every carrier has their own table that you get the percentage from after that, but they all go off of the same numbers, and they're usually all within a percentage point or two of each other.
So the government says the fuel surcharge is X, and then each carrier derives their actual what they're going to charge from that, and
Right.
a little bit differently.
Yeah, they provide the data.
Got it. Any recommendations for people on what to do? It just really stay close to your freight teams and understand what's happening on the surcharges and what to expect for rates.
Yeah, I think everyone has to be pretty fluid right now.
Yeah.
I think open communication is key. I think as we get the information passed along to us, we're immediately passing along that to all of our customers. And I think the best way is just to be upfront, open, and honest with immediate data that we have been provided.
Yeah, obviously a pretty unprecedented thing with how quickly gas prices have increased. So
Yeah, definitely.
just
definitely.
one new logistical challenge to add to the suite of current issues going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. But with the truck pricing, it's something, to your point of how to look at it, you really have to look at it almost on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
Rail cars are a little bit different because that goes off of historical numbers. So you normally have a window of a month or two where you'll see the rise from this month come into an effect a couple months down the road. So you can plan that out better. But definitely the tank trucks.
Is that typical? The fuel surcharges are valid for about a week?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not like they could be changing midweek or from Tuesday to Wednesday. It could be different.
No,
They
won't change in the week.
Interesting. What about the other formats of freight? What's going on with LTL freight? How's LTL shipments been recently? Joe laughs. That's not a good sign.
Yeah, I think ultimately what we're communicating to a lot of our customers is build in an extra day or two transit time. We typically do a nice job of communicating what the estimated transit time is going to be.
Sure.
But we usually, just good rule of thumb right now is build in an extra day or two. So many of these terminals we're hearing are just seriously backlogged with so much freight as it is that getting it onto a truck, even if it gets onto a truck, I mean, there's a few examples we have this week of even if it gets on a truck doesn't mean it's making delivery that day.
Right.
They're just so inundated right now.
Yeah. And you manage rail cars. How's the rail management been the last couple of weeks? I know you mentioned you've been getting more and more requests for intermodal shipments. Obviously, we manage a suite of bulk liquid rail cars. How's the rails been the last few weeks here?
I mean, the rail yards as a whole, continue to be backed up a little bit. Most of the serving yards, but that's, for the most part, it's been fairly steady at that pace. It's a little slow, but that's it's steady. It's a steady slow, is what it is. As far as general rail cars, the rail market seems to be busy. Seem to be a lot of carload shipments. I know we spoke with a repair shop the other day that said that, they are at one of their lowest points for cars in the shop that they've been at. So that would point to me that a lot of cars are in service, a lot of freight is moving, and that's a good thing, especially when shops, right now you can get a turn time of cars going in to get repaired of about a week. And we've seen points in the past where it's been 3 months or so.
Wow.
From the time it gets to the shop. So it's definitely good for that.
So rail shipments are still something you're comfortable recommending, obviously assuming the volumes are there and it's the correct lanes and distances and whatnot, but that's still been a positive maybe transition for some companies that historically hadn't been looking at rail shipments.
Yeah, definitely.
They should at least.
Worth considering if it's something you haven't thought about. I'm sure if you've only done liquid tank trucks or container shipments, maybe switching to intermodal might be kind of a scary thing to get into, but obviously companies like you guys are fantastic resources to understand what makes sense where and price it out all the ways and see what the best option is.
And I think a lot of end users need to consider, again, making their freight that much more attractive. And maybe that means if they're looking to grow, what does it cost to have rail siding? What does it cost to, have some of those options available to you to make as many options kind of open up as possible. Yeah,
as many options as you can. I think we talked last time about making your freight as attractive as possible. So give yourself options in those windows to be successful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, to Joe's point, making the change to rail, adding rail cars, if you're adding storage tanks, things like that can definitely be intimidating if it's not something that you're used to.
Sure.
Again, that's where I would rely on folks like us. Because we have experience with storage tanks, we have experience with rail cars and things like that.
So you're saying you won't have great luck if company A just calls one of the rail yards and tries to book a a rail car. It's not gonna work out in my favor.
Probably not.
Yeah.
No.
Good luck.
Makes sense. Imports, exports, status around the ports. I know obviously you guys manage a significant number of loads coming into the U.S. as well as leaving the U.S. What's the ports been like these days?
I think we're seeing the trickle down effect across all the ports. What used to be a somewhat reasonable release time from Savannah or Charleston as a different avenue besides LA or New York, we're starting to see those stack up.
Yep.
As well as even just being able to return some of the containers back to the yards. That's just a staggering issue that so many of these ports are just not designed to be able to handle right now. So we're seeing some pretty glaring holes in the infrastructure right now.
Have you seen any positive notes on availability of trucks? I mean, are we starting to see any additional drivers coming to the marketplace? Any marketing campaigns that are working to get additional drivers in play? I know we've seen some crazy numbers, like 6-figure, first-year salaries for some of these drivers coming on to try to entice kids coming out of college to pursue the CDL route. Have you seen any improvements on availability, or has it been kind of about the same in general?
I mean, I'd say that it's a little bit better than it was, but for the most part, I would say we're kind of at like a plateau.
Yeah. No better, no worse.
There's definitely a lot of price increases and things going into effect to try and, be able to pay those drivers more.
Sure.
And to try and lure more drivers into the, employment market on that end. And I think in some cases that definitely has worked.
It's going to be a slow process.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a slow process.
And I think liquid bulk especially is a little bit more challenging, just given all the extra nuances that are needed for a driver in that industry for sure. I mean, drive-in.
And I think we talked in the past, like the liquid bulk overall is a relatively small percentage of the general freight industry, but obviously for chemicals and especially for TCC's business, it's a pretty big part of it. So we kind of see that little microcosm of it where we think it's a massive deal, but obviously when you talk the whole scope of the logistics industry, it's a relatively small piece.
Yeah, it is. And, to the point that Joe brought up, the liquid bulk drivers, you're always going to have less, mainly because, there's less business out there for that, to your point of it's a smaller market. But also because when you think about liquid bulk, there are so many extra things that you have to do after you get your CDL.
Yeah.
You have to get, most cases you have to get your hazmat certification. You have to, get tanker certifications, all kinds of things like that.
Yeah, makes sense.
And that just adds costs for prospective new drivers. It adds, more difficult things to do.
Well, appreciate the update. Any final words of wisdom on the logistics front these days? What are you telling either operations people or some of your sales contacts?
Yeah, I mean, I would say just operationally, stay in communication with people right now, especially with fuel, being all over the place and unpredictable. Just constant communication. Be prepared for things to change at a moment's notice. Yeah,
make it a point maybe to follow up weekly on. Obviously, I'm sure historically fuel surcharges haven't changed too drastically, so it wasn't a big conversation. But now that it's doubled in the last couple of weeks, more of a focus point.
Definitely.
And you're out traveling.
Yes.
Been at some shows. You've got some shows coming up. Where
from a sales perspective, Fort Worth last week was awesome.
Yeah.
I think that was probably one of the better attended shows and a lot of buzz going on down there. So it was great to see everybody out there. Traveling down to the Mid-American Truck Show in a couple of weeks down in Louisville, AFPM shortly thereafter, end of March, and then we'll be at the American Coating Show in Indy at the beginning of April. So busy couple of weeks.
Yeah, for sure.
Couple of weeks.
Well, Jamie, Joe, appreciate you guys coming on again.
Thanks.
Hopefully see you here in the next month or two, and
hopefully with better news.
Hopefully some. Yeah, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. I like the optimism.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Ben.
All right, moving on to price updates and trends. I know we've talked about oil a bunch. Obviously, oil, I think, moving everything north. We're obviously in mid-March here, so we're not really thinking too much about April pricing in terms of firm updates yet. But I'm sure the overall feeling is that things will be moving upwards again for April at this point across a majority of our products.
I think that's a safe assumption.
Yeah, we've been getting a lot of mid-March increases.
Yeah.
Left and right, yeah. I think one of our salesmen is really good with the price increases. He has been sharing a lot of on mainly on solvents and glycol ethers and IPA and all of those things. A lot of mid-March and sometimes effective immediately. So you're seeing a lot of increase, not even waiting until April 1st.
Yeah.
Which is April Fool's.
I don't think the increases will be an April Fool's joke. No,
Yeah,
no.
right.
I hope they will, but they won't.
Yeah, I think not only are you seeing increases, but in availability, allocation. We're already allocating a lot of our products because people are, hungry for materials at this point, beat increases, and just to keep the supply chain full.
And contracted customers the producers are staying to their contract minimums in most cases, so they have to look for other sources of supply, either domestically or internationally. So it's tough out there to be a buyer these days.
Or paying market pricing for anything above your contract volumes.
Yeah.
Which is obviously
which
probably sticker
is-
shock.
Yeah, sticker shock. Yeah, or your contract pricing and just spot pricing. It's the same product, but there's a delta, of course.
And obviously seeing, I think, record highs for some products. I know urea's been at pretty high levels here recently and probably expected to stay there based on what energies are doing.
Yeah, I think if anything, it's probably going to go higher, right? Like Russia's a major factor in the U.S. when it comes to fertilizer. So, we're already seeing, vessels not being loaded and hearing things like that. So I expect things to get real tight and more expensive on all fertilizers across the board, including urea.
And obviously coming into fertilizer season, so I'm sure this is a popular time for that.
Yep, coupled with the demand season.
great timing for it.
Yep.
But yeah, looking at specific, price indicators, when I put these notes together yesterday, Brent crude was at about $1.10. Crude oil is about $1.06. Natural gas $4.65. So obviously oil up about $200 per barrel from the last recording we did in mid-February. Natural gas an increase as well. So obviously I think we're looking at, benzene's already tracked up. I'm sure propylene's going to track upwards for April.
Yeah, propylene was up 6 February. Spot market's been robust. There's even some demand going back to Europe for propylene. So because of inavailability or basically wartime situation going on over there. So, but we've got good propylene production here right now, which is probably offsetting some massive spikes. But yeah, we're seeing mixed xylenes, orthoxylene, benzene, propylene, ethylene, you name it, everything tracking north.
Tracking north, and especially giving short validity same day. Before it was a week, now same day, 48 hours. It's getting bad. It's getting bad. Yeah, short validity is because OX, for example, it's trending up really high.
That'll go to phthalic anhydride and go to plasticizers, and so there's definitely going to be a trickle-down effect here.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's been part of the best part about doing these episodes kind of mid-month. Obviously, I know a lot of people talk about price updates and trends, what's happening on the first and the second and the third of the month. But maybe people probably focus on a little bit more now with how kind of crazy the market's been. But it's been nice doing these episodes mid-month, even just for the five of us to sit down and talk about what we're seeing and what's going on, to start alerting customers for what's up, what's coming up in April and May. So it's been a good update here, kind of mid-month and benchmarking against where we were last middle of the month.
Yeah, it's a pretty serious update right now. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I think it's a serious situation that we're in right now. I mean, there's nuclear power plants, there's nuclear arms involved. It's nothing I've seen since I was a child, pre-Gorbachev and bringing the wall down and things like that. So, yeah, it's great to see that the world is galvanizing behind Ukraine, but we've got a madman that it could do just about anything at any time. So it's as humans on this earth together, we're very exciting times the last few years.
Yeah, very much so.
Wearing us thin, I think, or we getting worn down.
It's been quite the I guess 3 years now since COVID came about and whatnot.
Yeah, it's just amazing to see the wane of COVID concerns and now other concerns coming in. So wish it was a calm period for a little while. We need a vacation from life.
One crisis to the next.
Right.
Yeah, there really was no transition there.
No.
There was none.
Nope. Speaking of bolstering inventories and making sure you have domestic supply, I know Javi has taken Robb's credit card here the last couple of weeks and gone on a bit of a shopping spree.
Racking up those points.
What are you shopping for these days, Javi?
Some plasticizers, some packaged plasticizers, some citric acid, some food additives like citric acid, fumaric malic. that they should be here in 8 to 10 weeks from now. I mean, the lead time are long, but
Glycerin
from Brazil and from all over the place. We're buying a little bit, and just stocking ourselves.
Yeah, some products that we've been loosely active in historically.
Yeah, or historically we've been there in those products, so it's not new for us. It's just
new supply options
at the moment.
And I know we've talked a bit about it, I think, in the past episode, but obviously we want to touch on butanol as well. A big product for TCC, something we're excited about, excited to have the opportunity to grow into, and something we'll be making a big push on here, especially at AFPM and over the coming weeks and months with our marketing efforts. But an exciting product for TCC to continue to grow and do much larger volumes. And
effective March 1st, we're in our own short tank Kinder Morgan terminal, New Jersey. We've been in Oxos now for quite some time, and they're an integral part of our supply to the U.S. and also our plasticizer production, toll production, and butanol is it looked like we're going to have it readily available, but we need to shore up the supply chain. So we're looking at refreshing and how much is available between times and managing that. And it's we've been in short tanks before and managing, so it's nothing new to us. But these times are certainly new to us. So we're just making sure that we keep ratable supply, keep our contracts filled, and our customers happy to the best of our abilities. So.
And I know we touched on it a little bit before, but obviously the packaged plasticizer has been a great business for us, something that we've continued to grow into.
Yep, most definitely. And like I said, especially over the past couple of weeks, it's, we've seen a pretty big uptick in the, customers just placing orders, not even necessarily they want to ASAP, but, thinking for the next couple of weeks and months out, just to kind of like security of supply on their end.
Yeah, and it's not just plasticizers. I mean, we have packaged goods across the board, and I think it's the more that we're in bulk products, the more that we have to look at the integration into the packaged products because of all the logistics problems and keeping people safety stocks and all these things that Nicole mentioned are super important. So with our position in these bulk products, you can expect to continue to see us perform in those packaged products as well and grow those and grow our positions in North and South America in those products.
And I think in general, we've had a lot more opportunities for LTL volumes anyway, with regards to different packaged goods. So it's allowed us to really, branch out and build on that. So it's
partnering
awesome.
with distributors, regional distributors, centralized distributors has been a great thing for us. So we're still interested to do that and grow that business. And we're also seeing it like, it's funny, like we're growing into the package, but we're also seeing upstream our producing partners are less and less interested in dealing with short tanks or dealing with packaging or even breaking down from bulk to truck to rail car. They're sort of managing their production and managing what they do best and letting folks like us take it from there, take it from the plant all the way through the value chain. So it's been more and more often we're having these big boy talks with these big boy companies on how we can bring value to that, and they don't have the people, they just don't. Before it was 4 people for the world, now it's 1 person for the world, and now you have to place your order through a computer, so we bring the value of the sales and marketing tools, the people, the boots on the ground, the logistics, the handling, the packaging, the support, the technical sales. So I think we bring a lot of value. So it's been a good growing business for us to manage it from plant, to consumer.
Yeah, very much so. And speaking of people, obviously we got a pretty diverse list of trade shows and events coming up, which I think is exciting. Be nice to get back to some of these events, sort of a normal trade show schedule, back to AFPM later this month, back in its normal time in late March. And that obviously piggybacks back to back with the coating show. So we'll have obviously a pretty wide attendance and group of events at the AFPM. We'll have our golf outing Saturday, cocktail party Sunday, Everyone sitting here will be at the AFPM, as well as
Absolutely.
we have 12, 14 people going down total.
Yeah.
Good contingent.
Yeah, about 14, I believe. So looking forward to that.
Speaking of people.
Yeah, that's
Bring 'em
not the
down.
most we've ever had.
No.
there, by any means.
That's a light year.
But I mean, everyone's been doing great getting meetings on the books. I mean, we've got a robust meeting schedule. We're looking great on the attendance for the golf and cocktail party already. And I mean, typically that fills up within, a week or two before.
Yep.
So, looking forward to seeing everyone there and, just reconnecting.
But still space, I'm sure, to set up some new meetings if we need to.
Of course.
Send Javi a WhatsApp. We'll get it on the books.
Exactly.
Get on the book. What's on me?
Yeah, I think communication is super important right now.
Yeah.
So we'll make the time. More and more our relationships are closed when it comes to communication, and we're trying to open up more communication, talk more on podcasts. I mean, we're doing everything we can to get the information out there. So people and communication are really important right now, and depending on your relationships is becoming more important. So we'll always make time. We're always willing to talk, and I feel like other companies have shut that door, and it's a mistake because when you talk to somebody and they're like, we're 80% sold out on all our goods, we don't really need to talk to you. Well, don't take that position all the time. There
That can
might
change
be an
quickly.
opportunity missed. What's that?
That can change quickly.
It can change very quickly.
Quickly.
I mean, we could have a podcast on the ebb and flow of buying market versus selling market, and you don't want either side to be abusive, and by communicating it doesn't become abusive, so
Sure.
So it's a good point that you made. We'll always make time to have meetings to talk to people, no matter who it is.
And I think just the list of our trade shows and events shows our commitment to that. I mean, we want to be out. We want to be talking to people in person. Obviously, go-to meetings great and emails are great, but we want to do the AFPM and have a booth at the Coating Show and the Chemicals America Show and all the meetings you guys set up at the Southwestern Fertilizer Show. Always a good one over the summertime. You want to be out there talking to people. I know, AJ, we always talk a lot about how much you vouch for, how much more you get out of an in-person meeting, even if it's a 20-minute meeting versus 100 emails.
Oh yeah, yeah,
like
for
night and
sure.
day.
Yeah, just I'm not as big of a go-to-meeting guy as you are, but I'm happy to be back in person. More than happy to be back.
Yeah, just productive in general.
And if you don't have a meeting with us, how can they get a contact with us for AFPM? Is there an email, or what's the deal? Or they can come to the hotel? I mean, how should we do that?
I mean, they WhatsApp you, right?
WhatsApp.
Okay, what's on me?
I mean, we do have our landing site, thechemco.com/AFPM, which
Okay.
includes all information for the golf event, cocktail event, and most importantly, how to schedule a meeting with us. Or you could reach out directly to tccevents@thechemco.com, and we'll be happy to get you in the schedule and, connect at any one of these upcoming trade shows, actually. So
Perfect.
Yeah.
I just learned something. I didn't know there was a TCC event.
Oh, stop it.
Yeah, I wasn't clear. That's why I want to ask, because I was like, how do they contact with us? But yeah, got it. Thank you.
And you know what? We have an awesome email invite as well that, happy to send back out and, get everyone on board.
You teed that up nicely, Javi. We'll let you host the next one.
Oh, no.
You put that right there. That was good.
And they come and see us at the hotel, at our central hotel. Like if you don't have a meeting, there's going to be plenty of us.
Yeah.
You want to talk to us, if you don't have a meeting or come to the cocktail party, you're welcome.
I would say the cocktail party is great. Sunday night.
Sunday night, yeah.
So we still have
It's
Monday,
gonna-
Tuesday,
4 to
Wednesday.
7 p.m. Is
Yep.
it?
Yep,
Ruth
4 to
Chris.
7
Ruth
p.m.
Chris at the Grand Hyatt. So you just go down the stairs and then you're there. Boom.
Yep.
Right.
Thank you for that.
Those are some spot on directions. I mean, there you go.
I'll be at the bar, but you can find me there.
Bartending.
Back bar, or I'll be doing something bar related.
Buying drinks on my credit card.
Drinks and chemicals.
Yeah,
The
right.
guy knows how to spend.
No, but in all seriousness, looking forward to the AFPM. Obviously, we'll have the AFPM and the Coating Show behind us before we do another episode. So looking forward to those two. If anyone will be at those events, again, if we don't already have a meeting set up, be happy to get you in for some golf, cocktail party, set up a meeting with us. Should be a good time. Brand new hotel this year, which I'm excited for.
Very excited.
Yeah.
Moving up in the world.
Yep. That's for
We're
sure.
not in the
Right.
ghetto anymore.
I think that's a good summary of kind of everything going on, everything we've been talking about here the last couple weeks. Anything else that I missed? Any recommendations, things on your mind?
No, there's been some cool episodes that you've done recently, and maybe touch on those. Some upcoming episodes that are really exciting. The EcoVadis silver medal. I mean, you mentioned how we invest in so much. I mean, we invest in our own EH&S and legal as a distributor. That's becoming more and more important. But I'm sure we got time to talk about all those things in other podcasts.
Yeah.
But and there was a recent EH&S podcast that you shouldn't miss. If you've missed it, go back and check it out with Caitlin and Karen, and that was a great one. And we got some upcoming exciting stuff.
Yeah, the EH&S and Regulatory one was great. Whether you listen to the full episode or if you've been following along on LinkedIn, we got pretty much each segment clipped. So if you're more interested in the EcoVadis part, the ISO part, the NACD part, we got a great marketing team that's able to clip those episodes up and make it easy to digest. So
thank you,
Kettlebottom. A lot of good info. Yes, absolutely.
Kettlebottom Creative.
Absolutely. And some exciting episodes coming up. I think we've touched upon in the past. Once we actually get them recorded and ready to go, we'll promote those a little bit more. But some exciting things coming up. Some exciting feedback we've had on the podcast, and glad to keep growing it. So yeah, it should be a lot of good things coming up.
Did you mention your ranking in the? Did you ever mention that?
I think, did we talk about it on
we talked about it.
I'm pretty sure we covered that.
Well, we got number 4 in the whole industry, best podcast? I think number 1. Okay, I think we should. I mean, come on.
Now they're number 3 because IHS and Platts merged. So that.
Oh, so we're number 3 now.
okay.
So we're in the top 3.
Not bump us. We're top 3 now.
And we're not even getting paid to do this. I mean,
we're there for fun.
This is fun.
This is fun.
Imagine that if we were actually getting paid to do this. Those other guys, I think those other guys are getting paid, don't you, Ben? I think.
I would say so.
Yeah,
I would have to assume so.
Yeah, because they read everything.
We have to renegotiate our contract for next year.
I shouldn't have brought that up.
But please stay in front of your customers and suppliers and just be nice to everybody.
Yeah,
because it's tough times.
That's a good point.
Good
that's a very good
be
point.
Nice. Be nice to everybody. That's my
absolutely
advice.
Awesome advice. Yeah,
and it is good feedback, because I think we've had some cases where suppliers are sold out or things are tight or whatnot, and that's fine.
That's fine.
Be nice about it.
Be nice about it.
And be responsive.
There's no problem. Be responsive. That's the best you can do. Just be responsive and be nice about it. Yeah. It's simple.
Bad news doesn't age well, right?
It's not wine.
No.
Wine.
Benny, do you remember I floated that to you as a tagline? Chemicals with kindness.
Oh,
remember?
Wow,
No, but
okay.
I like it.
Yeah,
I like it. We
do
should
like
use
that.
it.
We're TCC. We're doing chemicals with kindness.
Yeah.
So I mean, chemicals with kind. So
I like
there
it.
you go. I mean, it really it didn't fly, but maybe we can bring that back.
Bring it back.
We'll put Javi's smiling face right next to the tagline.
Right.
Me and Corey.
Diversity. No, I think we'll leave it with that, though. Be kind.
Be
Good
kind. Be
time
nice.
to be
Be
kind.
responsive.
Good. Looking forward to seeing everybody at AFPM and the coding show. I'm sure again there's a lot of tightness out there, a lot of bad news having to be given, but do it politely, do it with kindness, and it goes a long way, I think, in the relationship. So,
Amen.
Thank you all for taking some time this morning. Good talking to you guys, and we will see you post AFPM, post coding show. Good,
See you, San Antonio.
Sure, we'll have a good recap there, and talk to you all soon.
Thank you.
Sounds
Thank you.
great.
Thank you for streaming the View from Jamestown podcast edition.
Like and subscribe for more.